Moments with God, a time of reflection for every day.
October 6th. Fatal decision. Then released he Barabbas unto them, and when he had scourged Jesus he delivered him to be crucified. Matthew 27:26.
Who is to blame for the decisions we make? Is it God's fault, or perhaps the devil, or the circumstances around us? Let's reflect on the following story. The influence of circumstances does play an important role in what we decide to do. However, nothing can force us to decide for good or evil. Each person is responsible for what they do. There were martyrs of the faith because they refused to renounce Jesus, and there were Christians who apostatized precisely because they saw the things of the world as what they desired. Decisions are always made by each person according to the desires that prevail in their heart. And there we have the arrogant Pilate. A fierce battle raged in his heart. The balance was between moral judgment, loyalty to justice, at least for once, or his honor and office threatened. If you don't condemn him, the priests of Jerusalem had told him, "You are no friend of Caesar. Jesus deserves to die," they had said, because he made himself king, and our only king is the emperor.
Not condemning Jesus would have meant losing the favor of the Jews, and the threat of an uprising would have cost him his position and the favor of Rome. Caesar had already warned Pilate that he wanted no more revolts in Judea, and if it happened again, he would cease to be governor.
But Pilate didn't want to condemn Jesus. What would you have done if on one hand your comfort, your successful life with its successes and riches, your friendships and earned honors, are at stake, and on the other hand, loyalty to the moral principles of your heart, justice, goodness, and righteousness demands to be heeded? What decision do you make in such situations? Then Pilate's love for the world won out in his heart. He didn't want to lose his position. He didn't want to be accused of being an enemy of Caesar, and so he drowned out the voice of his conscience that called him to decide for what was right. He washed his hands of it, pointing out that it wasn't his fault. However, it was his decision to hand him over to the cross.
Pilate longed to release Jesus, but he saw that he could not do so and retain his dishonorable position. Rather than lose his worldly power, he chose to sacrifice an innocent life. How many to escape loss or suffering sacrifice equally good principles?
Just a few years later, Pilate did lose his position and was exiled by the emperor to Gaul. What he wanted to retain, despite his efforts to do what was unjust, he lost anyway. Now that you see his story, do you think you can sacrifice your faith, your principles, and your loyalty to God without consequences? Because sin catches up with us anyway, and nothing is better than choosing life with God. Amen.
Thank you for listening to this audio. We invite you to share with your contacts and visit the website BibleWell.com.